Good evening. I call to order the November 2014 legislative session of the Media Borough Council. Please stand with the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment. I'd like to call a moment of silence for Gordon Grimley, who recently passed away. Gordon, as others on the council know better than I, served for a long time. He served as the code enforcement officer for the Borough Media for many, many years. He also served as the assistant secretary and the secretary of the borough back before we coined the term borough manager. He's a fellow whose influence on this town is long-lasting and will continue for quite a long time. I knew him as a neighbor, but there are others on council who knew him a little bit longer in a different capacity. Mr. Mayor, I believe you had a few words you'd like to say?
Yeah, you couldn't find more of a gentleman than Gordon Grimley. Whenever you go by his house on Front Street, you had to stop by and say hello, and he'd be sitting on the porch and he'd talk to you for as long as you wanted to talk. And I didn't realize it until the night of his viewing, but he served in China, Burma, India, CBI, and I always get that wrong, even though my father served there too. But, so I didn't know that about Gordon and what he did in World War II, and I wish I had known sooner.
Yeah, Gordon, was fortunate to know him for many years. Born, raised, and stayed here until 2010. Would have stayed here to the end, but his oldest daughter made him move and move in with them. A very, very well-known athlete in his day at Media High School, is a part of the Media Old Timers, which is now the Media Sports Hall of Fame for his baseball abilities. And as the mayor had mentioned and council president mentioned, you would always see Gordon out on his front porch talking to his daughter who he went to school with. If you go and look at the Google map of their house, Gordon is actually sitting on the front porch of their house. And Gordon was always there for all of us. He was born and raised here. I think he bled blue and white. If you cut him from Media High School colors, he will be sorely missed. Tremendous asset to this community. And even after retiring as a professional, served 12, 14 years as a volunteer on our planning commission. Don't find many individuals like that in this day and age. Like this, everyone just to take a moment of silence. Thank you.
Before we get to our agenda, we have a couple of housekeeping matters. There's two sets of meeting minutes that we need to approve. First set is for our October 2nd, 2014 workshop meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes as submitted?
Approve the minutes as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or call for amendment?
I have one edit I'd like to make. On my section, it says at the end, Councilwoman A. Johnson mentioned that no one's taking care of the rain garden on the slope of the Borough Municipal Center. That was actually Council Vice President Paul Robinson who mentioned that.
All right. Any other requests for amendment to the meeting minutes as submitted? Will the maker of the motion agree to amend the motion?
No problem at all.
All right. Yeah, I think that the seconder of the motion is okay with second.
Okay.
A second time.
Second.
Excellent. All right, call the question. All those in favor of
Aye.
approving the workshop meeting minutes for October 2014 with the amendment as specified by Councilman Davidson, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Second set of minutes are for our council meeting of October 2014. Do I hear a motion to approve the October 2014 council meeting minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? Any call for amendment? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes for the October 2014 legislative meeting as submitted, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. It is my duty to advise you that after our workshop meeting this past 2 weeks ago, November 6th, we met in executive session to discuss personnel matter as well as a litigation matter. All right, so we've now cleaned the carpet. Does anybody here wish to address council at this time? If you do, please come to the microphone, identify who you are by name, and tell us where you live. All right, no volunteers this evening. We'll then move to our engineer's report, Mr. Johnston.
Good evening. Make this brief. The road resurfacing project is complete for all the roads in the borough. There are 2 patches that still remain to be done. Joseph Suker is scheduled to be in here starting tomorrow and more than likely finish up early next week. Capital projects. Houghton Park is continuing on. To get exact status of, I'd have to talk to Mr. Jeffrey since he does the periodic inspections of the park. Olive Street parking garage has been completed, and I believe on the agenda there is one item of action for the garage. And I did do one site meeting for 235 Jefferson, which was a pre-construction. That's generally the report.
All right, well, that was brief as promised. Does anyone have any questions for our engineer, Mr. Johnson? Hearing none, we'll move on to the solicitor's report.
Thank you. I don't have anything tonight.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott at this time? Hearing none, we will move on to the mayor's report.
Thank you. This should be brief. Let's see, the borough had a total of 716 complaints during the month of October. There was 1 reported burglary during the month. And on October 3rd, approximately 2:40 a.m., officers responded to an alarm at a sandwich shop located in 200 block of East Baltimore Pike and discovered that the front plate glass door had been broken and taken was a small cordless safe containing an unknown amount of cash. The only other thing I want to do is make a comment on the Veterans Day Parade this year. It was one of the longest parades we ever had, and there were a lot of good things about it, and there were certainly some challenges and some lessons learned from it. What we've been used to on Veterans Day is 50 to 55 degrees and a lot of wind. The week before the parade, we had approximately 30 to 35 veterans scheduled to be at the parade, World War II veterans for honor flight. As everybody started seeing the weather reports, and it was going to be 67 degrees and sunny, those numbers went up to over 50. We had 20 cars ready to go, and by the weekend we had 102. World War II veterans that were going to march down, or not march down, they're all going to be in cars on State Street. So we put out a call for additional cars, and the car total went from 20 up to somewhere in the 60s or 70s for cars, because we tried to get 1 veteran per car. That was our goal. And it was a great day. They all had their time, but it certainly caused a backlog, I guess, over in Eastern. So again, it's a lesson learned that we will plan for nice days in the future. And one other thing we tried to do, it was Paul Robinson's idea, was to announce every name and get it right. And Paul came up and said, "I told you so," when I couldn't get every name right. And Paul wound up doing wind sprints from car back to the podium, back to the car to figure out who was in the car. So we did our best to announce every World War veteran, their name. I think we lost track after about 10, which resulted in doing the best we could. But I think it was a great day. We had a lot of people on the street, and the restaurants, for a change, said they really had a good day on Veterans Day as far as people coming into their restaurants. Jim Jeffrey, Larry Bach, and everybody down at the beginning of the parade did a great job putting this together, especially when it grew at the last moment. Everybody was in pretty much order. We just had a little difficulty figuring it out. So that's all I have.
Who was the speaker?
We decided when we decided who the Grand Marshal was going to be, and we're having like 30 World War II veterans, we decided that it would be honor flight because they were bringing the World War II veterans over, and we didn't want to single out one veteran. So basically, the speakers were Bob Diamond and myself, who knew when to shut up and sit down. Mario Saberi did a great job, and Senator Bob Casey, that was one of the best speeches I have ever heard him give. about World War II and the state of Pennsylvania, and veterans in general. So he was excellent, and so was Mary.
Well, congratulations to you and all those who were involved in the event. It was a wonderful event, and although it did take some time, I thought that the honor flight idea was poignant. Does anyone have any questions for the mayor? Hearing now, we'll move on to council committee reports, and let's take things a little bit out of order tonight. Those of you who are at home, you might not see this, but we do have quite a gallery of folks here today. I suspect that many of them are here because they would like to hear the outcome of at least one vote concerning the library. So rather than keep you all here to hear us drone on and on, why don't we get to that first? We'll then move to E under the agenda. And this is number 2, I believe, and this is Mr. Davidson's portion of the agenda.
Should I just do that one item?
I don't mind doing the whole shebang. Why don't we do number 2 first, and then everything else follows.
All right, for those of you who have been attending our meetings and showing up at the workshop, you've probably heard that we've been discussing giving a significant donation and also a loan to the Media Health Providence Free Library, which has been planning vigorously for the past, 5 years for a renovation project of their building. I would say, in fact, at this point, it's really a rebuilding the entire library. The entire section will be raised. And the total project cost at this point is on around $3.8 million. We have helped to acquire a $500,000 Keystone grant for the library, which has helped to close the gap. At this point, we have had discussions among council to help finance a significant portion of that. So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to authorize our solicitor to draft an agreement with the Media Upper Providence Free Library for the rebuilding project with the following terms: a grant of $1 million and a piggyback loan on the borough's borrowing, which we'll talk about later, of $1.5 million. The final terms of that agreement is subject to approval of Borough Council. It's in the form of a motion.
All right, we have a motion that needs seconding before we get the opportunity to talk about it. Does anyone wish to second the motion?
Second.
We've got 2 seconders, so we've got a backup. All right, before I call the motion, is there any discussion on the motion? Now is the time to discuss.
I think everyone knows my position that $1 million is an exorbitant amount of taxpayer dollars to provide to any nonprofit. I think everyone recognizes, I hope everyone recognizes, I think most of the library, I think it's fantastic. I want to support the library, but with taxpayer dollars, $1 million is a significant contribution with very few, if any, actual strings attached. And I think this council really needs to take a look at this and what kind of precedents they're setting. I know that our solicitor is going to say this, and our finance chairman is going to say, we're allowed to give to a library. Just because you're allowed to do something doesn't mean you should. So I think it's a great idea. I would love to support, help, provide assistance, work with them, but just to give $1 million to one nonprofit when other nonprofits in our community are as important, having as difficult times, and will not ever see the dollar amounts that this borough is doing for the library, I think is unfair to the other nonprofits.
All right. Does anyone else wish to comment?
I do.
All right.
I feel very similar to what Paul feels. I think $1 million is an extraordinary amount of money. Also, the $1.5 million in debt that the library will be required to pay back the borough if they can, but if they can't, I have concerns about the cash flows. So, it's hard to say you're not for a library. Libraries are important, but financially, from a financial perspective, I think there's a different way we could structure this and still get the library that we all hope for, media. So I'm concerned about the financial situation as well.
All right. Does anyone else wish to comment? Now might be an opportune time for our treasurer, Peter Williamson, if he so chooses, to comment. Peter, I don't know if you wish to say a few words. If not, then I'll call the motion.
I wasn't prepared to say anything.
All right, fair enough. Mr. Mayor, you wish to make a short comment?
Yeah.
As a non-voting member of council?
As a non-voting member, unless someone is exempt from voting, I have no say in this whatsoever. What I will say is the people involved in this, I understand their passion. I also agree with Paul on there are several other nonprofits, but having people in this room that I know will do everything to make this work, I am fully supportive of it because of the people involved, mainly because of the people involved.
All right, unless there's further comment, I will call the motion. The motion is to authorize our solicitor to draft an agreement with the Meeting Upper Providence Free Library for their rebuilding project under the following terms: a grant from the borough of $1 million and a piggyback loan on the borough's borrowing of $1.5 million. Final terms subject to approval of Borough Council. That's the motion, and I'll call it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay.
No.
The motion passes 5-2.
Thank you. So in that vein, as part of this, so in order to finance this, I should also mention that finance has been working diligently on an additional borrowing. As some of you may have paid attention to this year, we had a fairly significant improvement to our garage on the order of about $900,000, which will give us another 20 to 30 years out of that structure, which today's rates, we've got about $10 million to rebuild from scratch, so that, I believe, is money well invested. And there's additional projects we'll be looking at doing next year in our capital improvement plan. So as part of that, we are seeking at this point to either borrow or issue a bond for about $5.4 million to finance the upcoming projects. We have been working with a financial analyst from PFM Group. We also have, approved tentatively a bond counsel to help us through this process. And as part of that, we'd like to hire, the name of the firm, Jeff, do you have it up here?
Cozen O'Connor.
Cozen O'Connor, thank you. And the lawyer's name is Lichtenstein. So I'd like to make a motion that we hire Cozen O'Connor to be appointed as our bond counsel for the borough borrowing, with the total cost to be spent to not exceed $16,000. So moved.
All right, is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question, and I hope I get it right. All those who favor the hiring of Cozen O'Connor, Mr. Lichtenstein, as bond counsel for borough borrowing, I can't say that 3 times fast, for an amount not to exceed $16,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay.
Mr. Solicitor, would there be any issue with me abstaining? Just because
I don't think you need to abstain on the
on
bond
this
counsel.
one? Okay. That go with Cozen O'Connor's a very well-known firm with regards to bond counsel.
All right, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Just another announcement. So whenever the borough borrows money or loans money to another entity, we need to hold public hearings on that behalf. I'd like to announce that President Hall has called a special meeting at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, December 4th, to consider an ordinance which is required anytime council borrows or incurs debt. So as I mentioned, the debt would be up to $5.4 million. There is a group in Pennsylvania called the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. They have to approve us borrowing money, and this is part of that process. In addition, Mr. Lichtenstein, our bond counsel, advises us that we have to also conduct something called a TEFRA hearing, which is whenever we loan money to a nonprofit. We'll give an opportunity for the public to come and make comment on our plans to loan money to the nonprofit organization, in this case, the Media Upper Providence Free Library. So that's just an announcement in terms of this borrowing. So moving on down my agenda, I'll go back to the first item on the agenda, which is payment of bills for October. For the month of October, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bills as follows. From the general fund, $1,188,174.26. From the recreation fund, $8,962.51. No funds from liquid fuels. And the capital fund, $331,000, $182.05, for a grand total of $1,528,318.82. And that's in the form of a motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second?
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the borough paying its bills for the month of October 2014 to the general recreation and capital funds as outlined by Councilman Davidson, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say aye. Motion passes.
All right, next up, under the Affordable Care Act, we have a broker called Gallagher Benefits who has administered our health benefits for our employees for the past, I don't know how many years, probably 5 to 10 years at least. And as part of that, as part of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, they can no longer represent the boroughs as a broker. But what we can do is there's a new entity called the Delaware County Municipal Healthcare Affiliation, of which Gallagher Benefits is the administrator. So we are faced with making a decision between choosing this and other forms of insurance. And the recommendation of finance at the time is to adopt and come into agreement with the Delaware County Municipal Healthcare Affiliation. So I'd like to make a motion that Borough Council enter an agreement with the Delaware County Municipal Healthcare Affiliation for our employee and uniform benefits for the years 2015 through 2017.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of authorizing or entering into an agreement with the Municipal Healthcare Affiliation with regard to employee and uniformed employees with regard to healthcare benefits, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, we have a change order request from Joseph Dugan for additional work in the Olive Street parking garage. The amount is $7,465. We discussed this at workshop. It was for reinforcing the dowels required for the third floor that were unexpected when they work in the garage. So I'd like to authorize the payment of Joseph Dugan, Inc. in the amount of $7,465 in a form of motion.
Second?
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the change order request from Joseph Dugan for additional work at the Olive Street parking garage in the amount of $7,465, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
All right, so final 3 items all related to the budget. The first is I'll make a motion that we ratify the decision to advertise the 2015 preliminary budget. It is a balanced budget. I don't have much more comment unless the treasurer would like to chime in on any details.
He's not prepared for any comments tonight.
Ask me, I might be able to answer.
I didn't realize we were going first on all this stuff. But I would make
It's
that
just for
formal
the
motion.
advertisement, correct?
Just for the advertisement.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of ratifying your decision to advertise the 2015 preliminary budget, which is in balance, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
All right, next up, we are required by law to adopt a preliminary budget in November of each year. The budget's been passed out to all of council. We discussed it at our workshop this last month. This is not final, but it is, near to final, I should say, and can be changed the next month if the council so pleases. So I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the 2015 preliminary general fund, capital fund, recreation fund, and liquid fuels fund budgets.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
I would encourage finance to take a look at our minimum obligation that we had provided for a pension program, and also reevaluate and take a look at the donations and the lack of policy in which the finance committee currently has with regards to donations.
We will talk about it in finance next month.
All right. I'll go to this discussion points. Any other call for discussion or questions on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those who favor adoption of the 2015 preliminary general fund, capital fund, recreation fund, and liquid fuels fund budgets, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
The motion passes.
Next up is, so At this point, we have up through December 4th to advertise any increases or changes in our tax rates. In the famous words of George Herbert Walker Bush, there will be no new taxes this year. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance setting the 2015 millage rate and advertisement of our budget as well. The millage rate will stay flat at 3.0, I believe.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second?
Any discussion on the motion? Here's a call, but we do not need to eat our words as George H.W. Bush eventually needed to do. I'm confident they will not. And I do wish to emphasize this to everybody: we are not raising your taxes in this budget. I hope that they came through clearly. All right, I'll call the question. All those who favor authorizing the advertisement of an ordinance setting the 2015 millage rate, which is 3.0, am I correct about that, Mr. Smith? In advertisement of the 2015 final budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. As we're running out of things to talk about.
I am running out of things to talk about, but the one thing I have to talk about, like 911 and Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, but I can say it when I'm done, is there's an app for your phone called Public Stuff on Android and iPhone devices. It will let you target any part of town, wherever you are, that is your geolocation, and lets you submit requests or anything you have see around town, broken sidewalks, any issues with our streets or roads or signs, anything you'd like. It goes straight to our offices here and gets handled by our appropriate staff. And I'd just like to encourage everyone in town to take a look at that. So with that, I will conclude my report.
Are there any questions for Councilman Davison? Hearing none, let's track back in our agenda, and we'll go to A under council reports. That's Councilman Boyer. Kevin, before you go, let me offer an invitation to everybody who's here for the library. If you wish, now is a good time to stand up and leave. You don't have to put yourself in the rest of this if you don't wish to be here. Okay, well, the room is clearing. We'll turn now to Councilman Boyer, Recreation and Health announcements.
Thank you. I have just a few announcements from Rec. The Halloween party, which this year was on a Sunday, was a success, well attended. Some new events. There is a laughter yoga offered on Monday evenings from 6 to 7 in the community center. So if you're curious about what laughter yoga has to offer, come check it out. Another new event this year, for the first time ever, Rec is offering a winter wonderland on Sunday, November 30th from 12 to 2 p.m. Santa will be there, as will cookies, cocoa, and coffee. I would imagine cocoa for the kids, coffee for the adults, but we could switch that and make things interesting. So again, this is the first time ever, and I know there are a lot of other things going on that day. It should be a very interesting event. And looking toward the summer, the Rec Commission is currently looking into purchasing new equipment for the tot lot. So they're hoping to upgrade that and add some more equipment for the tots once summer comes around. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Any questions for Councilman Boyer? Hearing none, we'll move on to B. This is Councilwoman Lisa Johnson, our Historic and Media Business Authority.
Thank you. I have no report from the HARB. They didn't meet this month. The Historical Society, just a reminder, they're having their house tour, their every other year house tour on December 13th. So still opportunity to buy tickets and enjoy the tour. I think there's 9 houses on the tour and they're all very different, and I'm sure they'll be gorgeous. So think about doing that. And the NBA, I have a report from the NBA that I'll read to you. The media Jazz by Night celebration, which was last Saturday, was very well attended. The weather was really cold, but general feedback from restaurants and visitors was very positive. Great acts, and all the restaurants were packed all night. The upcoming events, There's Santa's Arrival and Festival of Lights on Friday, November 28th. It's a yearly community event. It'll take place in front of the Media Courthouse on Front Street. Festivities will start at 5 p.m. with Making Music and Philly Fanatic doing the entertaining. At 6 p.m., Santa will arrive on our old fire truck and turn the lights on Veterans Square and State Street. Volunteers will be handing out candy canes, and all of the council members are invited to go to Santa's Arrival to be on stage, be introduced by the mayor, who also happens to be the MC for the event. The NBA would like to thank the media, police, highway workers, Higgins Electric, and George Smith for all of their hard work and all the lights on the buildings, the holiday decorations, and safety. Another event is Santa's Village is being decorated and will be ready by next week. Schedules will be distributed for when children can visit Santa at the Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union at State and Olive in December. Carriage rides will be every Wednesday in December, the 3rd, 10th, and 17th from 6 to 9 in front of the courthouse. No reservations are needed. There is a charge for the adults of $10 and each child is $5. New Year's Eve ball drop will be again at 1 West State Street. Music by Philly Gumbo will start at 11 p.m. and the ball will drop at midnight. All visitors are reminded to use trash cans on the street for the safety of the pedestrians, trolley, and motor vehicles. We need to keep the streets as clean as possible. The NBA would like to encourage everyone to shop media on Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and throughout the whole holiday shopping season. Also, Jeremy Alvarez is wrapping up his report for the NBA, and as soon as that's completed, it'll be shared with the Media Borough and posted on the website. And the NBA also has a reminder to building owners and businesses: when they paint or restore their buildings on State Street, please do not throw away the holiday lights. They need to be reattached to the buildings because it's costly to redo them. So that's what I have for my report.
Are there any questions for Councilwoman Beasley Johnson?
I was just going to add, since we're kind of in that calendar of holiday events, one that I was surprised that the memorandum didn't at least recognize is a continuance of what Kevin was talking about, where we're having a parade this year on Sunday, November 30th. So that kind of goes after the Santa arrival on Friday and during the same time period as the Rec Commission is having their event. Monica O'Rourke, one of the main sponsors of the parade, is here, and since we're kind of going out of order, and since I'm not sure if you really wanted to stay here until 2 o'clock in the
Come on
morning,
up, Monica.
come up to your microphone and speak now. And
I think we knew why you were here. But come on up.
Because I have my big fat poster standing out. Well, hello everyone. I didn't wear my heels this evening. Dave, you're supposed to lower this for me. How is everybody tonight? Been a long time. I don't miss it. Thank you, Paul, for kind of broaching the subject since we're all on it. That's going to be a great weekend for everybody. We have Black Friday with Santa's Arrival. Saturday is actually Small Business Saturday, where if everybody uses their American Express card in all the shops and all the small shops, you do get money back. I think it's for every $10 you spend, you get $25 back on your card or something like that. I have to look into all that, but that's a great deal. It's a great deal if
I'm
you use
applying
it.
for Amex.
Yeah. Or maybe it's vice versa. So that's Small Business Saturday, and then on Sunday, November 30th, we have a parade, the first ever Christmas parade here in Media. We have all kinds of fun groups. We have, hold up, Harm.
There's a headache, you can get a decent shot.
Okay. All right. Who likes mummers? We have string bands coming. We have some other dignitaries. I'm not going to give it all away, but we have some special people. We're going to have some floats with assorted groups on them, some single acts. We have live reindeer coming. Vixen and Blitzen, I believe. Yes. And that's for the kids to, they're going to I believe they're going to try to walk them up State Street in the parade, and then they're going to be housed or corralled for several hours after the event. The parade starts at 4 o'clock, but we have some pre-game activities before the parade actually starts. It's a fun run, or a jingle bell run, as a lot of people know it. There is registration and a costume contest at 3 o'clock, starting at State and Veterans Square. So when you're all jingle belled up, if you look like a Christmas tree or you have battery operated lights, go up to State and Veterans Square and they will judge you, and we do have some gift certificates and awards to give out. The run will start at 3:30. It will do the same loop as the parade, as all the parades do in Media, State Street down to Monroe, and then come back up State to Veterans Square. And then right after that, the parade will start at 4 o'clock. And I have a poster here, I have some other ones, so if you want to look at that. I'll also have it posted downstairs, so that if there's a site on there where you can go, if you want to pre-register for the race, you can go to the Fun Run and Walk.
Can I add a comment, and that is that the Eagles do not play that day?
The Eagles do not play that.
Just like they didn't play last Sunday either.
Apparently not. No, Eagles play on Thanksgiving Day. So we kind of lucked out, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed that there's no Arctic blast that day. We don't want any 8 feet of snow like Buffalo. So I'm optimistic that it's going to be a nice chilly day, a good day for a parade. So come out and have some fun. A lot of the shops, I believe, are going to offer some hot cocoa and coffee for the kids. So come out. The shops are going to be open as well on Sunday afternoon. A lot of them are going to be open from like noon till about 7 or 8 o'clock that night. So it gives everybody an extra day of shopping in Media. So just come in, have brunch, do some shopping, stay for the parade, maybe stay for dinner afterwards. Should be a great weekend for the town of Media.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Monica. From a runner's perspective, let's just make sure that the runners go before the reindeer.
That's a promise.
Well, I don't know, it might be fun. I'm going to give you one of these here.
Okay, I did have one comment, Lisa, for the Historic Architecture Review Board. The Appleton Building, do I have that right? That's the name of it? It's now painted, it looks wonderful, it really does.
It really does.
Great work on their part.
Yeah, they did a nice job.
That's on the north side of West State Street.
That's right.
Yeah.
300.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Councilwoman Johnson, Lisa Johnson? Hearing none, we'll then move on to Vice President Robinson, Properties, Public Safety, Public Works, and Civil Service.
I think this is the first time ever that I haven't had a mass gathering permit to vote on, so this is a good day. As I do every month, I ask for volunteers for the Media Fire Company, for either to be a firefighter and or for the administrative side. We're always looking for help, we're always willing to train. The fire report for the month of October, the 39 fire responses, 179 EMS responses. The chief has asked that I state the following for all the parents regarding the Thanksgiving holidays. Stay in the kitchen when you're cooking on the stovetop so you can keep your eye on the food that's cooking. A lot of this stuff sounds very simple, but our firefighters are well aware that people don't pay attention to these things. Stay at home when you're cooking your turkey and check on it frequently. Keep children away from the stove while you're cooking. Keep matches, lighters out of the reach of children. Never leave a child alone in a room with a lit candle. Keep children away from hot food and liquids. Check your smoke detectors to make sure that they work by pushing the test button. As the chief said, most importantly, the officers and members of the Media Fire Company EMS wish everyone a happy and very safe Thanksgiving. Moving on to our agenda items. This sounds rather crazy, but we are required under Pennsylvania law to pass a resolution when we are getting rid of equipment that is basically too old for us to use. Anyone who is in government knows that if it's too old for government to use, it's pretty much too old for anybody to use. So right now, I am going to make a motion that we pass Resolution 2014-16 regarding authorizing disposal of retired police and public work vehicles. I can go and read the entire motion. I mean, let me just take a look. It is a Ford Explorer, a dump truck, a pickup truck, and a leaf collector. So with that, I make a motion that we approve or pass Resolution 2014-16 so that we can advertise and proceed with getting rid of some very, very old equipment.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving Resolution 2014-16 with regard to disposal of retired police and public works vehicles and equipment, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. So if you're interested in a leaf collector, now's your time.
After the last couple of days of the winds, we may need it. Second on the agenda, I do believe there may be some residents in the neighborhood here this evening. This is, what I look at as a way in which local government really does work. We had some, originally started with an email with some residents with some current concerns on South Avenue and the Franklin Street area with regards to a lack of stop sign. I think most of us know that we have our fair share of stop signs in the borough media, but here was a place that after it was reviewed and looked at by our police department, our public works department, and our public safety committee, everyone recognized that this was an intersection that would be better suited with stop signs on it. So with that, I make a motion for the request for the mayor initially to authorize the stop signs for South Avenue and Franklin Streets.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing the mayor to exercise his police powers such that we can erect stop signs at the intersection of South Avenue and Franklin Street, governing, I believe, South Street traffic. And that's South Avenue traffic.
Yes.
Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay.
Last on
Motion
the
passes.
Last on the agenda this evening is authorizing and drafting an advertisement of an ordinance amending our traffic code. As we just did throughout the year, we may make changes to stop signs in some traffic areas. By law, we are required to amend our ordinance and codify it with regards to changes during the year, so this is just basically a housekeeping matter, so I make a motion, we authorize the drafting and advertisement of an ordinance amending our traffic code.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing our solicitor to draft and then advertise an ordinance amending our traffic code, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And last but not least, because the mayor forgot this evening, is 911. It is the only way in which you can contact our police department. Please do not hesitate. Do not think that's solely for emergency. If you hear something or are concerned with something, dial 911. That will go to our Delaware County Dispatch. Dispatch will make sure our police officers are notified immediately and will respond. So use 911. And everybody, wishing everybody a very, very happy and joyful Thanksgiving holiday.
Any questions for Vice President Robinson? Hearing none, we'll then move to my portion of the agenda, the Community Development Personnel and Media Arts Council. If this sounds as if we've just done something similar, it is because we have. This is the first item on my agenda is to authorize our solicitor to draft and advertise the zoning ordinance amendments concerning West Baltimore Avenue. It's creation of gateway districts on the west end of town. And if you are familiar with the west end of town, know that it does need some love. The purpose of these amendments is to increase our housing opportunities on the west end of Baltimore Avenue. So I'm making a motion that we authorize the borough solicitor to draft such an ordinance so that it can be then advertised for us to review and at some point presumably to adopt in the future.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that I jumped in on this one. Okay, the motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, second item. Items number 2 and 3 are related. They both involve the Wawa project. Depending upon the result of number 2, we might not need 3, or we might need number 3. So, the first item is to authorize, for us to enter into a settlement agreement and a ground lease regarding the Wawa project. This is the proposal at the intersection of Providence Road and State Street. I suspect that many of us have heard about this. This has been before us for some time. Procedurally, where we are is a year ago, this council approved a preliminary land development plan, and subject to 33 conditions. The applicant, Media Real Estate, agreed to 31 of those conditions, but it was not happy about 2 of the other conditions. And as is its right, they asked the court to review that. Since that time, there has been ongoing discussions with council as well as representatives of Media Real Estate with regard to trying to resolve those differences. And tonight I'm going to move that we adopt that we approve the settlement agreement, subject of course to final approval of our solicitor. Essentially, what we have done over the past year or so is we've approved the project, and we've done that in a way that I think is beneficial to the borough. The stipulation requires, among other things, that the applicant, Media Real Estate, provide $290,000 to the borough for traffic improvements traffic improvements. We'd like to use them for that intersection, and that is the intent. But under the terms of the agreement, we can use that money for any traffic improvement throughout the borough, but the intent here is to work on the intersection at that location. Also, there is a, let me see if I can find it here. There it is. There is a lease. And the terms of the lease are fairly complicated, but this is a fairly complicated project. It starts off at $30,000 per year, and it increases in 5-year increments thereafter. Over the course of 20 years, the lease will bring to the borough almost $700,000. Over the course of 50 years, it will bring to the borough nearly $2.4 million. In addition, the applicant has agreed to transfer a right of first refusal on the existing Wawa property. So if the existing Wawa decides that, for whatever reason, that Wawa decides to sell that land, the borough has the option to purchase that property first. And the fourth other item that we have worked on is the donation of a parcel of land to the borough. Those of you who are familiar with the area behind Getty Station along Manchester Avenue, there is a unused plot of land. It is owned by Media Real Estate. Media Real Estate is willing to donate that to the borough free of cost and to improve that piece of property. That will be subject to some discussion with residents there as to what they would like to see. So over the past year or so, we have been working on trying to resolve or trying to come to some common ground with the applicant. That is embedded in the proposed settlement agreement and the attachments thereto. So I am at this time moving that we enter into the settlement agreement and ground lease for the proposed Wawa project, subject to final review and approval by our solicitor.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Nay.
No.
Ayes have it.
All right, so now we move to number 3. If the result of the previous motion was nay, we would not get to number 3. Number 3 involves a zoning hearing application on that property. This project needs zoning relief. They need to go before the zoning hearing board. And there are 3 items for which they need relief, which we contend they need relief. This, as is the usual procedure, the applicant has gone before the planning commission, and they've discussed the variances that are there, or they've discussed the application. Planning commission, after listening to the discussion and a fair amount of questions being peppered back and forth, recommended that Borough Council not oppose the zoning hearing board application. I think that the planning commission got it right. I do not see that this application poses any significant threat to the public health, welfare, well-being, and therefore I am going to follow the recommendation, and I will not make a motion that we send our solicitor to oppose the zoning hearing board application, which will occur, I believe, December 4th. If someone wishes to make a motion for us to send our solicitor, now is the time to do so.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we authorize our solicitor to attend the zoning hearing board meeting and with the position that we reject the plan. This is a health, safety, and welfare
But
issue.
we have a motion.
Okay.
So this is a motion to table, which takes...
No, it's not a table. You didn't make a motion, so it's a motion that we authorize our solicitor to
Oh, that's right,
attend.
that's right. My apologies. Okay, so there is a motion to send Mr. Scott, the zoning hearing board, to oppose the application. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
There is a second on the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I would like to just say that at our workshop, this was the issue of zoning was discussed. It was the request of Media Real Estate that the borough amend their zoning code to move from a residential neighborhood, as it's reflected currently, or a portion of it, to a commercial property. And it was the position of council that we did not want to amend our zoning code to reflect the change from residential to commercial. So I think we need to, as council, take some sort of a position. We are the ones that draft our legislation. We are the ones that vote on our legislation. But it appears as of late that after we draft and vote on it, we don't want to support it. And I think it's important, instead of just having it be thrown to our zoning hearing board, that we, who have been listening to testimony for 2 years now, take a position. So with this, I think we would be best served not to allow our residential districts to be diminished and removed, particularly for the advancement of Media Real Estate, who I think firmly has more than their fair share of commercial property in the borough. So I would encourage this council to make a decision that we are opposed to seeing our residential neighborhood be changed for the benefit of the commercial properties and in the benefit of two commercial, Media Real Estate and the Wawa Company. I think there are other locations within the borough that are better suited, would fit traffic patterns, and ensure that we don't have the public safety issues that I think very well could occur with this pending project. The motion's made. All those in favor of sending our solicitor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay. Nay.
Nay's got it. Can I do a roll call vote, Mr. Smith?
Mr. Boyer,
No.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Davidson,
No.
Mrs. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Dixon,
No.
Mr. Hall.
No.
Thank you.
Motion's defeated 5-2.
Okay. Items number 4 and 5 are, I guess, related in some sense. Both of them are motions that I don't care to make, but I must make them. Both of them involve members of the Planning Commission who have resigned from the Planning Commission for different reasons. Chris Pavlov has served on the Planning Commission since I don't know when. I think he was on the Planning Commission when I came to the borough, which is going on 18 years, and I don't know how long he was on the Planning Commission before then, but for a long, long time. And Chris, for personal reasons, has decided that he wishes to step down from the Planning Commission. His term expires the end of next December. But since that is his decision, I am compelled to make the motion that we accept his resignation from planning. So I do so in form of a motion.
Second.
Motion is made second for the resignation of Chris Pavlov from our Planning Commission. All those in favor of accepting the resignation say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
The second resignation is of Tina Mason. Tina also is somebody who has served on the Planning Commission well and for a long time. Tina is resigning from the Planning Commission for the reason that she has accepted a position here with the borough as an assistant code enforcement officer. And there is concern that there might be at least the appearance of conflict. And so she has, I think, done the wise thing, although she did not wish to do so if things were otherwise. She's done the right thing in submitting her resignation from the Planning Commission. Her term expires 2 years from now, the end of December 2017. So I make it in the form of a motion that we accept her resignation.
Second.
Motion is made second for the resignation of Tina Mason from the Planning Commission for a term which is expiring on 12/31/17. All those in favor of Tina's resignation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I'd like to make 2 comments. Both Chris as well as Tina, their letters were marked by a graciousness towards those with whom they served. I think that graciousness is indicative of the type of persons that they are. I see that we have Bobby Oshawa sitting here in the audience. I don't know why. Bob, you should go home and say hi to your kids. But your name as well as others were singled out. So these are folks that thought very well of what they were doing and the persons they were doing it with. And I commend both Chris as well as Tina for their fine letters. Also, that means that we now have 2 openings on planning. And for those of you who want to get involved in the borough, this is one of the most vital volunteer organizations we have in the borough. You can really make your mark. So if you have an interest in serving on the Planning Commission, and you don't need to be a lawyer or an engineer or anything else, you just need to be a concerned citizen who's got the time and the desire to do this work. If you're interested at all, please submit your letter of interest to Jeff Smith. It just needs to be a simple letter saying, here's who you are, if you're interested, please consider me. And we will consider you. So you have 2, I think, 2 opportunities to really do some great work for your community. Last item is a resolution, it's 2015-15, and it involves the Mineral Hill project. The reason why we're making this resolution is because the borough actually owns land in that area, so we're part of this project. And the purpose of the plan was to create, and I'm reading this now, otherwise I wouldn't be here this fluent, is to create an overarching vision for 3 adjoining parks, Mineral Hill County Park, Scott Park, and Memorial Park. They have various owners. And that allows the county and each of those municipalities to develop their respective parks while limiting redundancy. In other words, they're not doing the same thing twice or 3 times. Increasing public benefit and ensuring governmental quality. So I'm going to move that we adopt the resolution closing out the partnership grant project for the County Mineral Hill project, as it appears not to be complete. Peter Williamson, you're here, and whether you like it or not, this is something perhaps you can talk about, because your employer, the Natural Lands Trust.
Happily,
Okay.
happily, I can talk about
Excellent, we
that.
finally induced you. You can
Yeah.
Say a few words publicly.
Well, it's a good story. Natural Lands Trust was really begged by the Chester Ridley Crumb Watersheds Association to get involved in the protection of this property. And luckily, we had very sympathetic county council at the time who went ahead and bought it, which is a remarkable thing. It's one of the first county parks in, I think, decades. They realized they had 3 adjoining pieces of property in three different municipal ownerships, and it kind of made sense to do a plan together. So that's what they did. Media Borough is an underlying property owner for the lands controlled by Aqua, and then subsequently subleased, I believe, to Upper Providence at Lewis Scott Park. So it's a good story. I think it's a good plan. I think we did a good job. There was a lot of citizen input, and you ought to take a look at it sometime. I imagine it's on the Delaware County Planning Department's website, or if it's not, it will be soon.
We received the brief from Mr. Smith, and I read that, and I agree with you. I caught one typo, but aside from that.
And Peter, if I could ask you, I'm not sure if you would have this answer or not, this is truly more of a personal one. Part of that property up there was originally a Boy Scout camp that was for Elwyn students. This goes back to the early 60s. Many of the structures are still there. Amazing. It shows when Boy Scouts put something together. There's one pavilion there that was probably built in 1950, and it's as watertight as it ever was. Any of that going to be kept? And the only reason I say is because the scoutmaster who did that was a friend of the family's. I'm just curious to see if they're going to do anything to recognize.
Well, there was one gazebo that was still in very good condition.
Exactly.
An open gazebo. But it turned out when they had the survey work done that it was actually sitting inside Pico's property, Pico's Middletown substation property. So it's kind of up to Pico to decide what to do with it.
Okay.
But the other ones will disappear eventually.
Okay.
They're in bad
That's a
shape.
shame. So thank you.
All right, there is a motion. Do we have
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass Resolution 2014-15 for the closing of our Community Partnership Grant Project for the County Mineral Hill Project. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, that's the balance of my legislative items. 2 announcements. This is a repeat announcement. I anticipate that come next month, we will finally move to a motion adoption of our comprehensive plan. And as I have asked members of the public before, if you wish to comment on this plan, you still have the opportunity to do so. The plan itself is available on the Media Borough website, first page, all the way in the lower left-hand corner. I believe there's a link. You can take a look at it. If you have any questions, any concerns, you may submit them, and we will take them into consideration. The second and final announcement is with regard to the 3rd Street Dam project. I had said that I would try to keep residents as up to date as I could about any progress. So I do have some word, and I understand from Mr. Smith that PennDOT verbally has said that it will approve the revised supplemental agreement that was submitted by the design engineers. And if that is the case, then we should be in position next month officially to ask our design engineers to get going and design the thing. Preliminarily, and this is not something that should be cut in stone, the timeline appears to be that sometime in 2016, perhaps midway through 2016, we will have a plan, and at that point it can be submitted to PennDOT. It will go out to bid. If all things go according to that schedule, sometime in 2017, construction will begin, and sometime probably midway through 2018, construction will finish. So that does seem like a long timeline, but understand we are dealing with a state agency. Things are done on its time. we have done everything that we can since resolution of underlying litigation to move this project forward as expeditiously as possible. So that is the latest work. And with that, I complete my report.
Any questions for the president? I guess not.
All right, we'll move on then. Councilman Davidson is kind of settling back in his chair now because he's done all of his hard work at the top of the meeting. So we move on to Councilwoman Amy Johnson, Farmers Market, Fair Trade, and Shade Tree.
Thank you. Today was the last day of the market, boo-hoo. There was a great turnout today where shoppers enjoyed hot apple cider and ginger cookies as a thank you for a great season. Although the market has come to an end, Round Top Farm, which is one of our vendors, is taking pre-orders for turkeys, eggs, and pies. You can email him at roundtopfarmpa@gmail.com. The committee is already working on the 2015 market season and schedule and emailing vendors to solidify spots. There's actually an online application for vendors right on the Media Farmers Market website. If you are not on the Media Farmers Market mailing list, you can go to the website to sign up, where you'll get regular updates even throughout the winter, and you will also find a customer survey. Your answers will help us to know more about you as a market shopper and what you enjoyed about the market and where the market can be improved to better serve the community next season. Shade Tree, like Ken said, the Public Stuff app is a great way to report any downed limbs or trees that need attention. It's a quick way to make your report, especially with a visual, which you can take pictures right with your phone and submit the report. We actually get quite a few reports from this app, so take advantage of that. And Fair Trade, the committee wanted me to announce they're going to be a part of a fair and sustainable gift fair, which is December 9th. It's a Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and that's actually down in Philadelphia at the Friends Center, Cherry Street, 150 Cherry Street in Philly. You can find more about that at info@fairtradephiladelphia.org. And that concludes my report.
Amy, are you
Thank
sure
you.
it's 115
Ms.
and not
Javons,
15?
Ms. Javons.
You're right. 1501 Cherry Street.
Sorry, Letitia. But next time we'll use the microphone. Okay, so thank you, Amy. Any questions for Councilwoman Amy Johnson? Hearing none, we'll turn to capital letter G. Councilwoman Dixon, Public Relations and Historic Archives.
The Historic Archives have not had official meeting because of illness. The library has looked at the space that we'll be using and talked to the young man about shopping it because we've got to move. And I have nothing else to report and nothing to report for public relations.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions for Councilwoman Dixon? Hearing none, now we have the opportunity for public comment and privilege of the floor. If anyone wishes to address council at this time, please come to the microphone, state your name, and tell us where you live.
Letitia Jevons, 216 North Monroe Street. My question is, it seemed that during the meeting there was a disagreement as to the amounts to spend or the amounts to borrow, but not necessarily to the principle of supporting the library. Why wasn't there, was this discussed at workshop that I just missed, or why wasn't there an opportunity to haggle over the figure if council was all in support of giving something to the library, but in question about how much to borrow or spend for the library?
It's a good question, and I can assure you that we have talked about this many, many times at workshop meetings as well as finance committee meetings, as well as community development council meetings going back a couple of years now. So yes, there was quite a bit of discussion about whether to support and how to support and what level to support. So there might not have been a discussion of numbers here tonight, but that's only because we've had that discussion several times already. Kent, anything that you care to say about this?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly.
Okay. I turned to Kent because he's the liaison to the library, and he's been in the thick of things all along. Did I answer your question?
Mostly.
Okay. If there's anything that I didn't address, just let me know. We'll talk afterwards. Anybody else wish to address council at this time? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, folks. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.